say like, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea, but really it's just selfish. Like that's a selfish motive. And so trying to get to the underlying causes and conditions, and then to vocalize that, to say, you know what, let me stop myself. I'm in fear. And that's why I'm like reacting poorly to this.
Welcome to Amy Liz Harrison's podcast, Eternally Amy, a mum of eight's journey from jail to joy. A Gen Xer who overcame her struggle with alcohol to become a best-selling author and mental health advocate. She shares stories of hope and offers ideas for others struggling with mental health challenges, spirituality, ADHD, or maybe just family, travel, and logistics. One thing is for sure, you'll leave with something to chew on. And now, here's your host, Amy Liz Harrison, with your mystery meat sandwich.
Greetings, compadres. Today, it's 10 ways to spot an Enneagram Type 7, the Enthusiast. So here's your mystery meat sandwich. Ready? This is by a very famous person. Ready? It's called Person Unknown. And the unknown person said, quote, I think every person has their own identity and beauty. Everyone being different is what real beauty is. If we were all the same, it would be boring. I mean, how true is that, right? How true is that? And one thing that I remember distinctly happening for me when I was young, elementary school age, is everybody who I associated with pretty much had the same thoughts, the same values, the same kind of upbringing, or very similar. And so when I got to high school, there were people who commuted from, we called it back then, the other side of the tracks. But really what that meant was the base that was near our house in our town. And I remember just a different culture happening at my high school at that time than I was used to. And looking back, it was really important for me. Like that was a really good experience for me to see. And then I started taking the city bus with my neighbor to school in the morning. And a lot of these kids were on that bus. And I learned a lot of colorful words for things, let's just say, and a lot of differences between, just my regular old white suburban neighborhood full of senior citizens. It was just a different experience. And as I grew, as I experienced more things in the world, as I started to travel and do mission trips and all that kind of stuff and be exposed to different things, it just really made me feel so small in a good way. You know what I mean? Like it brought me that sense of, oh, I'm just one tiny piece in this, whirling ball of mud and water floating through the stratosphere. And, it's important. It's important for me to keep learning, growing, staying curious. And sometimes I struggle with it, especially when phrases or words or viewpoints are canceled, but then I don't know about it and I didn't mean to offend anybody. I'm constantly going through that these days and trying to figure out what the latest phrases are that I should know that I don't know. But that's what I loved about that quote for the mystery meat sandwich is that, that's what makes us beautiful is our differences.
And now, onto the Chaplain's Chat.
And so we're going to move right in to the Chaplain's Chat, which there is no chaplain today except for me. I'm the chaplain, and I'm talking about the Enneagram Type 7, specifically 10 ways to spot one. Okay, so 7s are defined by their desire to experience life and everything that it has to offer while avoiding pain and boredom. All right, So I'm going to pause before I even really begin to unpack this and let you know, spoiler alert, I'm a 7. So there you go. This is the number, the type that I constantly come up with as my highest type. And then it's followed closely by 9, but we're not there. So we'll stay at 7. And at first, when I read, this, as I'm sure happens with everybody, they kind of read the type where they come out the highest and they just sort of go, okay, well, yes, on a lot of it, yes. And maybe not so yes on a lot of it. And again, I keep saying this in this series, but we all have varied traits. We're human beings. We're complex. We're not just, cut from a one size fits all cloth or pattern. And so we're going to have all of these types in us. It's just interesting to see which ones rise to the top. Okay, back to 7s. They appear to others to be lively, fun-loving, and they tell wild stories. Like there was this personality test thing that I did at a church one time, and it was about animals. You were a lion or an otter or a golden retriever. And the otter was the one who, quote, told wild stories. And of course, I came out an otter. So I don't know really what that says about me and my stories. I personally don't think they're very wild. But, they have also said about Bill Wilson that sometimes he would tell a story that, factually was maybe a little bit off. And I don't know. I've been known to do that maybe just once or twice, a time or two with a detail or two. Not to get a certain reaction, but because I tend to be overly sarcastic. And, instead of saying, that something was 3 miles away, from my perspective, if I was on foot, it was like 75 billion miles away. So anyways, that's what I kind of do. Maybe just exaggerate just a little tiny bit is all, not much. All right. So deepest fears of 7s. 7s fear getting stuck in a rut and missing out on the good life. They cope with this fear by constantly seeking out exciting, novel, and fun experiences. And core motivations are more than anything, 7s want to avoid feeling bored, sad, or uninspired. So all of the above, I totally relate to 100%. Like I love to have fun, to have adventures. Like to me, if it's not interesting, engaging, I'm out. Like I just can't even handle it. I can't even. And I think all of us have an experience buried somewhere in our past where we have been faced with either a class at school, maybe it was a job that we hated. And it's just like, you get that sense of, at least I have as a 7, I gotta find the fun side of this or this ain't gonna last. Like I'm not gonna show up. You know what I mean? Like I need like a reason for staying. And so for me, inevitably that would sort of be that clown, the class clown person in the back row who was kind of joking around or playing the penis game or whatever. I would need somebody to be kind of my fellow character / entertainer. And that would motivate me to, devote myself to whatever it is that I was doing. And I'll give you an example. So I, one summer, was an intern for the Los Altos Police Department. This is back, of course, during my college campus safety times. And oh, you know how it is with interns. You get to give them all the fun jobs. This was an unpaid internship, I will also specify. And so, I got to do a lot of cool stuff. Got to, see the jail cell and look through all the mug shots and all this. And this was back in the day where just to say this about Los Altos Police Department, so that I don't get in trouble for like spilling any beans, is that was all kind of acceptable during that time. They didn't have they had a binder of printouts of photos of people. So, there wasn't like this big security thing that, you had to hack into or anything like that. And so, times were different. That's what I'll say, right? Times were different. Rules and laws were different. And so we got to do ride-alongs. That was super fun. And a couple times see some pretty great stuff, some pretty interesting stuff. And I loved it because I loved the idea that every single day I went was going to be different. However, this one day showed up and it was like, hey, Amy, hey, Tosh, and Tosh was the other intern. Guess what you guys get to do today? You get to organize the VHS training video library. And so they showed us, like 6 cardboard boxes filled with these videos. And they were, Harry grows a meth lab in his garage, volumes 1 and 2. And elder abuse with Betty White, and all these like random sort of, and I don't know if they really were training you using these or if it was just like somebody's kind of garage sale, here you go kind of items. Maybe this will be useful someday. I have no idea. So I lost my train of thought because let me quickly say that I just now at this very moment remembered that I am supposed to leave. I have like 6 garbage bags full of clothes for the Seattle Union Gospel Mission, and they're in my dining room and they need to be dragged out to the front porch. So I just wanted to say that. Oh my gosh. Ava just walked in literally at this moment. We need to record this. I left the clothes for Elton in the dining room and he's coming today. Oh, do you mind dragging them out there?
Yeah.
Oh!
Also, I got you gas. That's why it took so long. I've never gotten
this is the
that
best.
myself before. I picked the premium one.
Amazing!
I've never done that though.
Thank
and
you
the Mercury
so
line
much.
was super long. That's why it took 10 years.
The Mercury line is always super long.
Yeah, I'll go put them on the porch.
Honey, thank you. I love you.
Love you too.
That's awesome. I mean, did I not that was crazy. That was like a manifest moment. So neat. Okay. So thanks, Elton. Now you get your clothes. They're on the porch. Yay. It's a win-win. Okay. So back to the video library. That's what I was talking about. I don't know. Maybe I was thinking about Betty White and clothes or something triggered that. Anyway, I'm just here to say the point is it was boring. It was boring AF. And I just said to Tosh, we got to make this fun. So go find a frickin' VCR and a TV, and we're going to watch this shit while we do the organizing. And let me tell you, it made all the difference in the world. Of course, within half an hour, we're laughing our asses off at all the cheesy, goofy reenactments. I mean, it was great. It was like Unsolved Mysteries, but on steroids. And it was way cheesier because some of the actors, I don't know where they found them. Maybe just at the local bus stop. It was entertaining. Let's just put it that way. But that's what it is for me, is that concept of like, if something's boring, I'm not down. Like I'm not down at all. And I have to figure out what it is that is going to make it a little bit more entertaining for me. So that's how that manifests itself in my life, personally as a 7. Key personality traits of the 7. 7s are always on the go, except when we're sitting on our asses wanting to do nothing, because that happens too, at least for those of us with ADHD. 7s have a wide range of interests. They have childlike enthusiasm and energy. That can be true for sure for me. Here's a fun one that I thought I'd pull out. Curious, sparkling eyes. I don't really know why they would say sparkling eyes, but sparkling. There you go. That's what it says, and that's what I'm reading. Sparkling eyes, which kind of sounds like maybe that's a power ballad title song from the 80s, but they have many ongoing professional and creative projects. Oh my gosh. Like that is me to a T. I mean, I was your Longaberger basket consultant once. I was a Jafra consultant once. And if you don't know what that is, that was basically face creams for senior citizens. And I decided to sign on as a consultant for that in college. So clearly the target market was not within my real sphere of influence at that time. So I don't know what I was thinking. 7s are also upbeat and optimistic, glass half full outlook. That is not always me, but I will say I kind of wish it was always me. And I do really try and work hard, at least at this point in my life, on reframing. So if I have kind of an Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh mentality about something and I'm glass half empty, I really do my best to try and pull the Tony Robbins like silver lining kind of thing out and just figure out, what is one positive thing that I can get out of this situation or what is one thing that I can cling to that provides me a sense of hope. That's where I can turn it into a glass half full perspective. Then this one I find funny too, also characteristic of most 7s, but not really me, is well-liked and popular among peers, which the reason I think this is funny is because if you have listened to any of my stuff, I say a lot, I talk about this, is that, and I think people associate drinking or being an alcoholic, they'll assume that I was just some crazy partier in high school and I was just out, getting smashed at parties. And no, not at all. Like that all came way later in life. And I was not popular at all in high school. Like I was a choir nerd. I was floating from friend group to friend group, kind of seeing if they were accepting applications in their friend group. And usually they kind of weren't. And so I was just kind of misfit. Yeah, just Captain Misfit in most circles. So that one I just bring up because it's an example of like, yeah, no, that doesn't really ring true for me. That's okay. Core values of an Enneagram 7, flexibility, happiness, and variety. Okay? Enthusiasts tend to seek out eye-opening experiences and sensations. Ooh, sensations to take in and see the value and meaning in everything. Well, I will say that is true for me in clothing. At this point in my life, I don't want like tight, like waist-banded, zippered jeans anymore that are comfortable for about 5 minutes. I've kind of rid my closet of all those things. And I even went through my closet with my daughter who was just in here, Ava, and I even said to her, is this super soft t-shirt too scratchy? Like I kind of got this sudden like sensory processing disorder mentality where I just have low tolerance now for like uncomfortable clothing. So that kind of sensation, yeah, I'm in. The softer, the better. I'm all about comfort. You know what I'm saying? Low pain, high fun. That's the best way I can describe myself as a 7. And another core value is open-mindedness paired with a non-judgmental attitude. And that is what makes the enthusiast tick. We, and I say we because I am one, believe each person should be given the chance to explore all that they can and that each moment has its own beauty as long as you look carefully enough. That's absolutely true for me these days. All right. So how to recognize, how to spot one. They're whimsical, right? They are free-spirited. And enthusiasts experience life with an open mind and bright eyes. There it is again. Sparkling eyes. I don't know. You tell me. With an impressively wide and far-reaching collection of talents and interests, maybe interests for me, not talents, but interests, They have active imaginations that shine when gifted with new and exciting opportunities. That is true. Man, I am like a...
Sparkling eyes, just so you see.
Oh my gosh!
That's the biggest Enneagram 7 I know, and that's his sparkling. Yeah.
Okay, so Matt has just shown me a picture of somebody he knows who literally, I'm looking at this person, their eyes are sparkling.
That's what it means, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so this guy that he showed me the picture of just now literally has sparkling eyes. So there you go. I think that that's the kind of thing too, where you look at somebody like I just saw that picture and you can tell immediately, like, I bet that guy has a billion friends. Like he just probably just is magnetizing. So whimsical and free-spirited enthusiasts experience life with an open mind. And there it is, the bright eyes, the bright eyes. I wonder if it's also like Betty Davis eyes. I mean, probably, right? So at work, they're highly productive. No way, not for me, but yay. Yay for others. Yay, I celebrate you. And they get along well with others in the sandbox. Well, yes, mostly I would say that's probably true because selfishly, I want to be liked. And there's something that we say in the 12-step program that will help you maybe understand this idea, which is if there was a ham sandwich and a turkey sandwich on a table, and you would like me better if I ate the ham sandwich, that's what I'm going to eat, even if I prefer the turkey. So I totally have that kind of thing going on where sometimes I forget it's okay if that person judges or doesn't like you. It's okay. It is not your business. And so sometimes I need to be reminded of that. Okay. With an infinite number of topics to talk about. What? I don't even know what that means. Their natural charisma draws in even the shyest of individuals. Yeah, some people maybe have that gift. And when faced with change, they strut forward with pride and boldly traverse through the unknown. Well, not so much for me, but I have seen that for sure. And I think there are some 7s who are so good at change. They're just really, they just have a confidence in it, an excitement about it. And especially as I age, I find that is not true for me. I'm like, oh my God, change? But then just entertain me in my own comfortable place. And I kind of fall into that weird dichotomy of like, I kind of want and like change. And then I also kind of want to just like sit in my house and lick the middle part of Oreos all day and just throw away the chocolate pieces. I don't know. Okay. So when Enneagram 7s are healthy and when they're not so healthy. When they are healthy, 7s see connections between their areas of interest and expertise. Yes. And are able to focus their energy wisely in ventures that benefit something greater than themselves. Through every experience, they can see the lessons learned and be grateful for everything that passes, the good and the bad. They can manage the method to their madness with finesse, that was a great shampoo, and inspires others in the process. Their positive energy is infectious, combined with their curiosity for learning and open-mindedness in that learning, I would say, is a triple threat. Better yet, they're able to perfect their work-life balance while still making time to embark on a new journey and keep their personal happiness tanks full. Wow, that sounds like a goal to me. That doesn't sound like something I'm super familiar with. I feel like for me, balance is always that sort of holy grail, like it's out there somewhere. Somebody somewhere knows what it's like to feel balanced at all times. I don't know. For me, it's kind of like a pop in and out of balance. I thought that was kind of cool, though. The whole first part there, seeing the good and bad, making connections, yes, I can totally do that. And I do try and do that. When I'm not doing that, though, it's because I'm usually letting something crowd my vision. And it's because I'm not paying attention. And usually that's because for me, there's something going on with my spiritual life and my inner world where I have like a resentment, or I've judged something, or I've judged something like contempt prior to investigation that I haven't even looked into or experienced and just shut the door on. Then it's like, well, shoot, you know what? You're going to totally miss any potential connections because you're closed off to it, Amy. So, that's where I definitely have room for growth. So when they are average, so we're talking about this idea of being healthy and not healthy, 7s throw themselves into a slew of constant activity and constantly seeking the next high. They're fun, busy, and all around spontaneous individuals. They combat their stress with a growing list of fun projects to undertake. Oof. They're adrenaline junkies whose habits may spiral into serious addictions. Why is this average, by the way? I feel like this isn't great, but whatever. If this scattered energy is mismanaged, it can spiral into serious addictions. So, future-oriented and almost always excited for something, enthusiasts rewrite their life to maximize happiness and minimize or even deny pain. Yep, been there. To do so, they plunge headfirst into various forms of escapism. Everything from reading, movies, exercise, romance, alcohol, and psychedelics are also listed on there. I wouldn't know. Just kidding. Okay. When they're unhealthy, 7s become burnt out, cynical, and overly critical of the seemingly illogical systems that surround them. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm reading this right now. The amount of times where I have gotten spun out over different things that ultimately I have no control over. None. But it's like I will give energy to something. I will just try and get you on my bandwagon of how horrible this, that, or the other system is, and how all they need to do to fix it is X, Y, and Z. I can just go there. And then I'm exhausted and I'm pissed. And P.S., like I just said, I can't even do anything about it. Like it's not up to me. So I really lack acceptance sometimes over some things. And I won't get into it because it'll make me mad. But the TSA, for example, which I've never talked about before. So minute issues, this is still on when we're unhealthy. Minute issues with others become highly irritating and everything becomes a nuisance. Oh, that hits hard, but it's true for me. They may also become overwhelmingly narcissistic in their actions and presentation. Yep, I can see that. In the worst case, enthusiasts begin to feel like they'll never fully understand what they're truly seeking out of life. Jumping from place to place or person to person, enthusiasts lose a sense of groundedness and may appear to live in a perpetual fantasy world instead of reality. When they realize the made-up world is only an illusion, they lose control over their mood and tumble into extreme emotional highs and lows. And so this does also sound, and I'm not joking when I say this also sounds a little bit like maybe I should talk to my psychiatrist about possibly I'm bipolar as well. But it is true. I definitely understand that. And I think one thing that comes to mind for me is that I'm thinking about this memory of like the camp high. So if you grew up in, the evangelical church of the 90s and other camps, I'm sure, had some element of this to them, but they'd have this last night, and it was like these campfire moments where you were literally gathered around a campfire talking about your connection with God that you had made over the week and how maybe you had grown closer to God or what your relationship with God was looking like after being, having your cup filled all week by speakers and by, very moving worship under the stars. And so you've got this real camp high, quote unquote, camp high. And then you've made all these commitments. You've maybe rededicated your life to Christ. And then you go home, kind of the first day home, you got to pick up the dog poop and you're trying to do this with a joyful spirit and kind of like remember your camp high kind of thing. But like by day 2, you're kind of back to your own self and you kind of just go through these highs and lows. And you know what? That's okay, right? Like some of that is just like humanity, but I can relate to it as my point. Growth tips for 7s. Slow down and experience the moment. Yes. 7s like to stay busy to distract themselves from feelings of discomfort. Oof. Yep. Because of this, they may not allow enough time to relax and be present. Yep. Learn to see the value of pain. 7s grow when they learn to see that there is beauty in darkness. Painful emotions aren't necessarily bad, but when you feel the need to distract yourself from pain, stop and check in with yourself and ask how you really feel. Ask what's really going on. Of course, I find this super important personally to stop and get to the root of what's going on. A case in point will be if I'm talking to one of my kids about maybe a future opportunity that they have. And that future opportunity, will be something that doesn't sit well in my spirit because it doesn't fit well in my spirit, not theirs, which is the point, which is it's not about me, but maybe it takes them away. Maybe it's, like spending a semester abroad or going, overseas for a project or something like that. Because of my own fear, I will sometimes say like, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. But really, it's just selfish. Like that's a selfish motive. And so trying to get to the underlying causes and conditions and then to vocalize that, to say, you know what, let me stop myself. I'm in fear. And that's why I'm like reacting poorly to this. And I've learned just to do that with my kids because I value having a relationship with them. And pain, P.S., before I go on to the next one, has always been my greatest motivator. Always being willing to go deep. When 7s share their authentic self with the world, they can form deep and meaningful relationships. But if you aren't willing to go below the surface, then your relationships will never be more than surface level. Allow yourself to be vulnerable and have hard conversations when necessary. Yeah, I have one floating around that needs to happen right now. I'm thinking about with one of my kids. And the best way that I can think of to do that has worked well for me is when I just sit down and go, oh my gosh, this is like, I don't know, it's crunchy. I don't like bringing it up. Here's what I'm struggling with. If I say to you this, maybe you're going to think or say that. Like, I'll just lay it out there now in all of its messiness. Because if I give like a 10-point plan and, just present like a PowerPoint presentation of what I need to have a conversation about, like, I'm sorry, it just doesn't go well because it's not honest and it's not genuine, especially with my kids. I just feel like they do better to see my humanity. At least that's what I found recently. Another growth tip for 7s is get comfortable with solitude. 7s tend to be extroverted and attracted to experience that offer large amounts of sensory stimulation. But the more time you spend with yourself, the more self-aware you become. Yep, that is true for me, for sure. And I've gotten to the point where I enjoy my own company, just not for too long. I mean, when I had COVID, and it was back in the early days where we had to quarantine by ourselves for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, people, 2 weeks. And it was great for the first 5 days because I felt good. So I was very lucky. But it was great for 5 days. And then it was like, I'm ready to see some people. Bring on the people. And the only other thing I want to say about that is 7s tend to be extroverted. I don't know, not for me. I'm probably one of the most outgoing personality introverts that I know, but I'm just very introverted when it comes to recharging my batteries. And I also have noticed about myself, there's a quote unquote stage character that I like to present to the world. And it's not that I'm fake. It's the side of me that is more of a, I don't know, just a person who's like going to talk about like, you know, funny things or make fun of things or just have like a fun outlook on life. And if I'm not in that mood, I just don't really want to be around people. I just want to be alone in my process and just kind of like hide in a, you know, like a turtle shell kind of thing and just do my process and then come out when ready and have another side of myself take the stage. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And practicing, this is the final one for the growth tip, practicing active listening. Rather than listening to other people with intent to respond, 7s need to practice listening to understand. Yep. Not every statement needs an immediate response. True. Take time to consider what other people are saying and focus on crafting more thoughtful and empathetic responses. I don't know. Who couldn't benefit from that? I do admire that some people can do that organically. All right, celebrity type 7s. Woo woo. Remember, this is not from these celebrities themselves. Okay. Elton John, John F. Kennedy, Britney Spears, Russell Brand, Katy Perry, Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz, Richard Branson, Steven Spielberg, Conan O'Brien, Ted Danson, and then it lists a whole bunch of other interesting things like Eddie Winslow from Family Matters. What? I mean, like, I haven't seen the show in a long time. And if you haven't ever seen it before, it's great. But Eddie Winslow. Okay. And Moana from Moana, which, okay. And Peter Pan from, of course, Peter Pan. So yeah, 7s as children are action-oriented and adventuresome. They drum up excitement. They prefer being with other kids to being alone. They, wait for it, here you go, finesse their way around adults. Can be done. And they dream of the freedom they are going to have when they grow up. Oh my gosh, that was me. I was like 8 going on like 27. Okay. So often type 7s as parents, so we're moving on to parents now, enthusiastic, generous, kind of, yeah, this rings true for me. I'm total Disneyland mom. Like that's totally, I'm that person. When their children are going, you know, to be exposed to many adventures in life, that is usually preordained. And that is preordained by me for sure. And sometimes I fill their schedules too full and I have to realize that and then rein it back in. Type 7s in relationships tend to be fun, enthusiastic, romantic. They can be independent and creative in terms of planning for adventures. Sevens can be working on a number of projects with speed and talent. I don't know about the speed and talent, but I have like a billion projects going on at all times. And keeping their spouse and themselves entertained. Yeah, I would say for me, when it's good, it's good. And when I'm not like that, it's really bad because I tend to set a tone. I've noticed this. And I don't know if this is just a parent thing, like a mom thing, a me thing. I don't really know. But if I am not in a good headspace, or not in a good mood, like the whole family pays. And that's not pretty. Like, I'm just going to tell you. And then I beat myself up and I'm like, get in a better mood. And, I go through all of that kind of self-shaming thing. And that's not really helpful either. So learning to be gentle with myself and all that is kind of like a thing that I work on. And that's interesting because the segue into the next part about relationships for 7 is what goes up must come down. And eventually, a 7 in a relationship is gonna have to do the work that it takes to keep a relationship afloat. Whether that means contributing to a savings fund, which sounds really boring to me, so not exciting, slowing down and doing chores, or facing the actual anxiety that can lie beneath their joy and fun, right? So facing some personal problems that I have, like personal things that I go through. For example, do I have a shady motive? Am I looking to be liked and accepted? What is it that I'm fearing, which I said earlier. So this is no simple process, considering their spouses also often expect them to carry the joy into the relationship. However, as with all processes, there must be a balance and a titration of one's gifts with one's virtues, which in the case of a 7, that is joyful exuberance. Exact the word, exuberance, exuberance, and sobriety. Yes, 7s do well to slow down a few paces each day, which, that's a goal, to work on some lower intensity things, to, maybe not be so kind of all or nothing and work to be a little bit more intuitive so that I can say no more often, to rest when I need to, or just a little while, engage in those kind of more restful behaviors for a little while. And I found personally for me, that is true. I will totally be spinning my wheels. It will be obvious that my brain is tired and I'm not, putting out my best effort. And really what I need to do is just take a few minutes and refocus, and I'll forget to do that. And so I waste more time by putting out kind of a crappy attitude or crappy level of work. Whereas if I would just pause, go outside, take a breath, get grounded, refocus for a little bit, and then come back to it, it's just a much better result for me. Okay. If you love a 7, okay, just be a gentle reminder to us that our emotional pain is not going to kill us, nor is our physical pain. Well, it might. I don't know why I said that. But pain is necessary, right? Pain is the touchstone to growth. They say that a lot in the 12-step rooms, and I find that personally be super true, right? So gently offer your 7 freedom, time, and space to do some processing alone, and they will increasingly step away from their own wild planning, wild behaviors, and choose to love spending more quality time with you with much loyalty and depth. And that is true. I find that I am at my worst when, because I have ADHD, when I am super focused on something, and then one of my kids comes and interrupts me, or my husband interrupts me, I become like that person, those cranky old people in like 80s movies where it's like, can't you see that I'm working here? You know what I mean? Like, that's where I go. And it's not good. Like, that's definitely another area of growth for me. Though it may not seem as though their joy ever has a landing place, it does. And it's very helpful for them to have a safe place to rest and to process. And this is so true in my marriage. Holy cow. Like Andrew can attest to my highest of highs, my funnest of funs, my my crazy side, all of that he can attest to. And also the, oh my gosh, I'm going to jump off a bridge because none of this matters. Nothing, I'm nothing. The world is nothing. And so he handles those extremes with me. And I appreciate that a lot because he's just way more on an even keel than I am, which is great. I need it. That safe place, it helps sevens to be able to get to some emotions that are more neutral instead of so up, so down. And also, all of these things have an end, these emotions, right? Because they are emotions, meaning they're in motion. And that is how to spot an Enneagram Type 7.
Finally, here's your bailout bag.
And the bailout bag today, it's just this. It's that we all have some 7 in us, right? Like we all have an adventurous spirit of sorts. And whether that just be an adventurous spirit doing the things that we are comfortable doing, that's an adventure in and of itself, is to devote oneself to doing the same thing all the time, to not look for things to make our lives wild and adventurous. That's, they're both adventurous. It's all in how we define it, right? It's all in how we look at it. And it's all in how it relates to our life and becomes applicable to our life. So take what you like and leave the rest and be kind. Rewind.
Thank you so much for listening to Eternally Amy. Amy Liz Harrison is a best-selling author, speaker, 12-step coach, meditation teacher, and recovery advocate. To find out more, please visit amylizharrison.com. Keep up with Amy on all platforms by following @AmyLizHarrison. Please subscribe and review this podcast. It means so much to us if you do.